We here. You know what it is. All the shenanigans is out the window. Let's talk about the 4th of July, the fireworks of the 4th of July weekend. Shout out to the Mason 5, 3-0. They pulled it off last night. Prelims was lit. We watched both of the Mason brothers from Ibrahim. I'm forgetting the other brother name who opened the card. It's great to get those rounds in. It's always great to get rounds in, especially when you got knockout power. And if I'm not mistaken, Ibrahim Mason is one to watch out for. Shout out Abdullah Mason, but the next champion will be Ibrahim. And I like how he moves. I like how consistent he is. I like his discipline and sticking to the game plan, and still provided the knockout. But let's get into the main card, Scooter Davis. Scooter Davis had a lot on his hands, but it's always great to get the rounds in, especially when you're starting off. You don't want to be like, shout out to Edgar Berlanga, but you don't want to come in with 16 to 17 first round knockouts. You feel me? And then on your 18th fight, you go the distance, but you look gassed. It's good and great to see Scooter Davis. If I'm not mistaken, this is his second time going the distance. So it's good to see Scooter go the distance, but you're doing too much footwork in the gym. Shout out the brother that be over there with Barry Hunter and Coach Calvin with the Upton Gym, no excuses, etc. But the Headbanger Gym, they footwork drills. And me personally, I didn't see Scooter use his footwork drills. If he would have been more pivotal, would have kept his lead foot on the outside and pivot on the outside, he could have got the stoppage, he could have did his thing. But, getting the rounds in, makes a fighter great. It proves where the gas tank at. And on top of that, we didn't see him on E. We seen him on a half tank of gas. Shout out Scooter for getting the victory. You just gotta touch up on your footwork, and stay behind the jab. Key thing, stay behind the jab. But shout out for Scooter pulling it off. Tiger Johnson looked the sharp. I'm not going to take nothing from Tiger. It was a fight. Shout out the Mexican from Canada. Now I know it's Mexicans in Canada. Nah, man, is it Puerto Ricans? I want to know if it's Puerto Ricans and Mexicans in Russia. That's what I want to know. But, it was a good fight for Tiger. Staying sharp all 12 rounds. Tiger got a gas tank. He got a gas tank. He looked real strong. And he looked real strong. No, did he looked real strong at 147. And in due time, he will get better and greater. Love the jab. His combination is crazy. You feel me? But we gotta see with better competition. Because when we seen him in there with Bochica, we seen what Figueroa did. We seen what Bo did. Bo exposed a lot of people. Shout out Detroit, stand up. But that was his toughest opponent right there. But I would love to see more of Tiger. What's next? And I would love to see Tiger back this year. What's next? Shout out Tiger. Shoo with a UD decision. I'm gonna keep it tall, y'all. I felt the sleep on the fight. I woke up watching the fight. I woke up, go back, watch the fight. It was a good performance by Shoo. I love to see these fighters get the rounds in. You could be a knockout artist, but sometimes it's good to get the rounds in, and especially if you can end the person in the 11th, in the championship rounds, 11th, 12th round, even in the 10th round. If you can injure and hurt your opponent at that time, spectacular. But still going the distance and getting a UD, beating the person all 12 rounds is better than the KO. I'm just saying, you smoked his boots, like when Boots did Karen. Xander Zaya's game plan was Karen won. Not understanding, like, damn, Boots beating 12-0 and won. You feel me? So, shout out Shoo, man. Spectacular performance with the UD. What's next for Shoo? Let's see, Spinoza. Let's see. Or could it be Inoue or Nick Ball going to, Nick Ball, what up? But what's next for him? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Let's get into the main event. Everybody snapping on me because of the short I did at the end of the fight saying it could have been a draw. If you watch the fight clearly, the first half of the fight, you see clear as day Albert Bell had it in the bag. Don't believe me? Just watch Chris Mannix. Everybody's seeing this. Some people had it 4-2 going into the 7th. Going into the 8th, some people had it 5-2. going into the eighth, and the eighth round didn't even start yet. Just the first 7 rounds, some people had to fight to. Me, myself, no, it was a close fight to me. The first round, it could have went either way. They need to go back to 10-10 rounds, but I thought Abdullah Mason was more sharp in the first round because he looked sharp. His inside game was sharp, you know. But Bell just started picking him apart, you know, and it started to look like the sparring match. But one thing people don't talk about is, to my knowledge, I never seen Albert Bell win a 10-round fight. This probably was his first 12-round fight. So, you know, like he said, once he got punched in the nose, I think his nose broke, he started breathing out of his mouth heavy. So, you know, that breathing, man, y'all breathing techniques. Learn how to breathe through your nose and learn how to breathe through your mouth, man. And if you ever get dropped, sometimes you ain't even got to get dropped. Just learn how to take the 8 count, you know. And in that second knockdown, I thought Albert Bell was going to take that 8 count. And what the ref did was crazy. But the ref knew if it would have went to the scorecards, it would have been a draw. Because those 2 knockdowns in the 12th round would have made it a draw. You can't stop what Albert Bell did. It could have been 7-5, y'all. It could have been 7-5 Bell way. But the world, no. You're not signed to no top promotions. You're not leaving top rank with a victory. That's how I felt, you know. Shout out to Sam Watson. Shout out Al Heyman. I see y'all in the building, you know. But yeah, shout out to Prince Bell. You know, he's still going to collect the title at 135 or even 140. He's still a problem. Is that right here, learn the lesson that you can't leave it in nobody's hands. But the key thing is why you never switch. Albert Bell was a switch hitter. And what I want to know, was that on the contract for you not to switch southpaw, for you to stay in the orthodox position the whole fight? I'm just saying, though, because we watched Bud Crawford and Canelo do the same thing. Bud stood in the southpaw position the whole time, never switched to orthodox at all. But what was the key reason? Y'all heard what Boots was doing to Canelo in sparring. In training camp, they sparred like 4 or 5 times. Boots was whooping Canelo ass. I'm just keeping it tall, you know? But why did Albert Bell never switch? You know, I watched Devin Haney made a post. Yeah, everybody was about the situation, you know, about the stoppage. But come on, Devin, you talking? Dev, don't talk. Please, Devin Haney, don't talk. You got the heart, but you ain't got the heart of a lion, my nigga. The stuff your dad did for you to get that O back, you need to be quiet. Because you the one to talk about, well, people want to protect their O's. Nigga, you the one that want to protect your O. You the one that want to protect your O. Like, come on. Even with the Jose Ramirez fight, nigga, we thought you lost. Shout out to the Brian Norman victory, but if you take that knockdown away from Devin Haney, what do you get? A draw or a Norman one? Same thing with this fight. If Abdullah Mason never scored the knockout or even that knockdown, Albert Bell would have won, right? But by him scoring those knockdowns, and if it would have went the distance, I know what I'm talking about. If that fight would have went the distance, they would have made it a draw. They would have made it a draw, and Cleveland would have had, you know what I mean, a trilogy on its way, a trilogy. So right now, it looks like, to me personally, I won't be surprised if we see Emiliano Vargas and Abdullah Mason. And a lot of people, oh, they won at 140, won at 135. It's called common sense. Just watch the videos. Watch the pre-camp. Watch the camp videos and vlogs that they did. Why you got y'all 2 prospects? One is a champion and one is a prospect to become a champion, but he's a regional champion. Make it make sense. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like button. Subscribe. I'm up on out of here. Dollar.